I got the screenshot from Hulu, which was super hard. I used a snipper tool because there was no other way to do this. And I put it through the false color generator on indiefilming.com. When I put the image through the false color, I noticed that the brightest parts were the light above the stove and this little practical light over here. Everything else fell into like the deep or light blue, which means that pretty much everything was falling into the shadows. So I didn't do anything technical. I just used that information in post and as I was shooting. Okay, so starting when I got the image off Hulu, I initially just looked at it and just tried to analyze what I was seeing. So what I noticed was there was a splash of orange coming through these windows. Okay, there was a pocket of light right here under the stove. There was the pocket of bright orange under the cabinets. And then there was a pocket of light happening right here over the actress. We've got some spill going on that's likely coming from outside. And then the entire image is a blue hue. This light right here looks like it's more tinted, really light green with the saturation really low. But I figured that that's probably something done in post in the color grade. This is my resulting image, and I put the tube under here, turned the saturation up, got some orange going. I had a tube sitting up here, and that was daylight balanced on me. And then I had a little small RGB light in the window. Now going back on this, I would do that different because I was lazy and it was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and I didn't want to wake anyone up going inside out the house. Plus it was really cold outside here in the Midwest. But what I would do different is open these blinds up, go outside with probably my Forza 500 and gel the light orange and shine it and bounce it onto this window. I wouldn't do a direct source because it's supposed to, honestly, I think it's mimicking a street light. And then I had another tube pointed at the ceiling, tinted blue. Now I didn't get the colors right in camera. I knew that it would be hard because it was just me trying to film myself. So what I did was I got them as close as I could, but I knew that I could tint and saturate the orange and the blues to the way that I needed them. And I'll show you guys how I did that. I took a little cheap photo stand and I pointed this tube towards the ceiling and tinted it with a teal blue. And when I turned the light off, that splashed all throughout the kitchen. And then I stuck a tube underneath, and I had no way to rig this up here. This is how I started. I gaff taped this up best as I could, but halfway through the shoot, it started to fall. And so I came up with a clever idea of putting it on a broomstick or a mop stick with the wires that come with it. And then I put that across there. And then this is my light that I had behind the blinds. It was really cheap and poorly done. I used some paper towels to diffuse it so that it wasn't too hard of a light, but that didn't help all that much. And I shot this B-RAW 8, I believe. It's either 8 or 5, 5600 on the temperature, and I was at ISO 400. So the first thing I did inside Davinci is went to our color management. I do Davinci YRGB color manage, HDR Davinci wide gamut, and Rec 709 for the color space. The second thing I did is I went up top here to the timeline view because I had several shots in this edit. So I add a node, for me that's Alt S, and I'm gonna do this and call this 2383 because I'm gonna use the Kodak I'm gonna use the Kodak LUT, 2383 LUT. And this I got from, it's a guy on YouTube, his name is Cullen Kelly, and he makes a 2383 Davinci wide gamut to Davinci wide gamut. And I love it. So automatically when I throw that in, you can see how the teal was kind of it's kind of off, and so was the orange. But when I threw that on, it kind of got me where I needed to be. So I went back to the clip level, and the first thing I did was I wanted to raise the levels. And so I went over into my offset and just brought the levels up to where I thought they were nice. And I just noticed that the light on my face was probably a little too bright. So I lowered the gain a little bit, upped the gamma, lowered the gain, just kind of danced around until I got a good image that I felt was great. What I would have done different going forward is probably turn the intensity down, the brightness down, or maybe threw a paper towel over it to diffuse it a little bit. Add another node, let's label this exposure. And then I wanted to go and play with the hue of the walls, the teal. Go into my HSL, I'm gonna play with hue versus hue. I clicked on the blue just to get all the blue values in the scene and pushed them from there, and I went up until I got a nice teal look. We're gonna do the same thing with the orange. First thing I did was I dropped the orange because I didn't want to affect the skin tone. And as you can see, it's perfect. I did not affect the skin tone at all. And so now I can change the hue of those orange lights. And then from there, I just added a few power windows. I wanted to isolate myself and kind of tone that orange down. So I threw a power window, let's see, over here. Just so we can darken that and it wasn't too bright, because it felt like it was just a sore thumb sticking out. And then I'm seeing too much of the paper towel, the chair and everything. So I did the same thing there. I'm not labeling my nodes, but you guys obviously will. And I'm clicking this to invert it. There we go. Now everything is falling into the shadow. Your eye is directly drawn to me. Now I could have did a circular window and feathered everything out, but it's just the way I did it. Sometimes I do circular, sometimes I don't. From there you can add grain. I wanted a nice clean look, so I didn't add any grain. So basically it was about creating pockets of light, and I forgot who I learned this from, to light spaces and not faces. Going forward, if I was to redo this again, like I said, I would throw that light on the outside, and then I would put something right here, right where this paper towel is, something to add a little bit more depth, because I feel like this just falls into the shadows. And so, all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. There's tons of videos on YouTube of people doing the film look with one light or really low lit and almost barely visible, and I love that look. But not too many people are playing with color contrast with lighting, and I think that's something that really speaks to how cinematic an image can be, because you know, a lot of movies we see now are heavily contrast. That's the look that I love, and I got a lot of great responses from this, so I plan on exploring that look a lot more. If you're getting value from this, please like, comment, and subscribe.